What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this beautiful Thursday? I'm Randall Thor 19, one of your hosts of the Xbox 2 podcast. And with me, as always, I have the one and only Sleepy Jez Corden. What's going on, buddy?
Hey man, I am so tired right now. I'm going to do my best to not be tired and to be perky and stuff like that, but I've had such a busy day and very much lack of sleep. Had to get up really early and I couldn't get to sleep until really late because my sleep cycle wouldn't allow it. So them's the ropes, man.
Them's the ropes. You know, like I know getting leaks and doing that stuff. That's a 24-hour venture, man. You know, it, sometimes you just need a break, and you know, I did read your article right before we did the podcast. By the way, plug for Windows Central, as you guys should.
Oh, the E3 predictions thing. Yeah. To be honest, I completely forgot that I wrote that.
How did you completely forget you wrote it? You just posted it today.
No. Well, I wrote it a couple of days ago. It was scheduled to go live.
You know what?
The content's usually scheduled in advance, so I don't actually. I just often just fire and forget, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I wrote that."
Oh yeah. Surprisingly, it almost read like my prediction video. You really did steal it. You said you were going to, and then you did.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, I didn't watch your predictions video.
Nobody watches my videos. It's okay.
Well, I watched like a little bit of it, but then I got sidetracked by something.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. It was a long video.
We talk and have the same information a lot of the time, so.
Yeah, sometimes I have different information. I'll share with you. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, you know, it's how it works.
I should have just embedded your video and left that as a whole article.
Just like listen to Rand and his cool thumbnails.
Don't listen to me. Just listen to Rand. He knows everything.
Jez was even saying I'm doing better with my thumbnail game. I started learning Photoshop.
Yeah, man. YouTube thumbnails are like a source of frustration for me because so many of them are terrible. But yours are getting better.
Getting better. They used to be complete and utter trash. Now they're just trash. So you're moving up in the world.
Moving up, baby. I actually like. I won't even watch a YouTube video if it's got a bad thumbnail.
Thumbnails are important. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. We have a lot to talk about. Although we might keep the show short since Jez wants to go, nap time. Well, but we'll see. We'll see if we can sprucing up Jez's outlook today. Because I included one of his favorite topics about the idea of Xbox Live multiplayer being free. Because this one really gets to Jez sometimes.
Yes.
See, normal Jez would have been like, let me tell you what, Rand. I'm going to tell you what. How these YouTubers make me...
So, I've been fighting about this all week, and I'm really exhausted by it. Because the people pushing this multiplayer should be free thing, and I understand the sentiment, part of it's kind of like, well, if Microsoft doesn't have the exclusive games, then we should get something else instead, like free multiplayer, just so we can brag about having that and whatever. Like, I understand the sentiment, and especially with like PC gamers can play State of Decay 2 in crossplay without having to pay for Xbox Live, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. But the thing is, that's not how the console business works. PC gamers have to buy their own PCs. They have to build their own PCs.
Jez, hold on. Well, we'll get to that. You're like wanting to talk. See, I knew this would get to you.
Yeah, it gets me going, man. I'll explain the business.
Yeah.
People don't get it.
So we're going to talk about that, and then maybe with the idea I had, we're also going to talk about Battlefield 5 and why that'll be Jez's game of the year, including the fact that people get triggered by women a lot, it seems.
I don't want to say it's my game of the year yet because I watched it on my phone, right? And I couldn't tell that it was pre-rendered at the time. But then I went back and watched it on my computer. I was like, oh, that's not real gameplay footage.
No, that's not. What else? We have a PlayStation 5 supposedly coming in 2021. The Sony CEO was, pretty forthcoming about stuff, and we'll talk about how that really applies to Xbox. And anything else we really want to talk about, if you have any comments or super chat things, make sure you post them. And there is a super chat from Showen. Thanks for the support. He says, is this the boats and hose episode? But no,
But
this is just a
no.
hose episode, I
Yeah,
guess.
me and Rand, King Xbox hose.
Yeah.
Show
But
me that
first,
money.
we're gonna talk about what we always talk about, in that games, and I'm gonna go with Jez first. And I already know what he's been playing because he's addicted to this thing like crack cocaine, and that is State of Decay 2, the best 4 out of 10 game you'll ever play. Right? Isn't that how it goes?
Yes. 4 out of 10. Who gave it 4 out of 10?
I saw like 3 or 4 outlets give it a 4 out of 10.
Idiots.
Idiots. So
Yeah.
you still loving the game, Jez? I mean, I know
I love the
you.
game. I'm
Would
addicted
you,
to it.
if you were to review it now, would you rate it higher, or would you still just give it the same score?
Well, I would give it. I'd probably give it a low score, but the thing is, we don't have the ability to give a game 7.5 in our system. I would have given it 7.5 if I could, but I gave it an 8 because we don't have 7.5 on our scale. Um, but uh, I'm loving it, man. I wouldn't rate it any higher because like I still feel the same way as I did when I reviewed it. Gutted about the bugs, gutted about the dedicated lack of dedicated servers, and I'm gutted about um just some of the things that are like lame, like ported animation and stuff like that. But it's so addictive, and I like smashing zombies with a hammer. What can I say?
Yeah, and I saw your gameplay. Your chick has some mad fighting skills. She's just destroying zombies left and right. But then you talked about how you have like a recon drone or something, and all this kind of like hidden information that you don't really get until you kind of go really in depth with the game. Like, what's that all about?
Yeah, it's like the problem with State of Decay 2 is that when you first start playing it, it feels so similar to the first game because it has all the same animations. The combat is pretty much the same, hasn't changed. The controls are the same, and the early gameplay loop is the same. You go into a house, you search the things, you equip the rucksacks and hand it into your base, blah blah blah. But then when you get further in, it's like, oh, I can upgrade these base modules, I can add mods to them. There's like dynamic story events which are actually fairly entertaining, and upgrade cars to Mad Max death machines, and get better weapons, and stuff like that. And then you got the whole leader system where you can have different types of leaders which change your gameplay style. Like you can be a trader or a warlord running around killing other humans, and looting them and stuff. And it's like, damn, there is a lot more depth in this one than the previous games and the DLC of the previous games, but it's all hidden away in about 5, 6, 7 hours in. So like I think a lot of these reviewers never even came close to experiencing anything like that, which is fair enough. But like I saw like pretty major outlets report on bugs that were fixed by the time the game went live, like the whole raining zombies thing. That got fixed before the game went live. It was there at the start of the review program. There was a major patch that got fixed. But a
I
lot of
remember.
these outlets, yeah, a lot of these outlets already written their reviews, and they were like, "Oh, zombies rain from the sky, blah blah blah. Don't buy this, it's a buggy mess." It's like those bugs got fixed before it went live, so maybe it's Microsoft's fault for giving reviewers early access. But managing expectations is something that Microsoft struggles with. Like Undead Labs said, this game is AAA. It ain't AAA, and it was originally listed as $60 and then down to $30. It's not a $60 game. It's just too unpolished. And it plays like a funded indie game, from like a smaller studio, from a smaller publisher. But I just love it, and I'm addicted to the potential. I think I can't keep thinking like, man, imagine if Undead Labs was first party, and Microsoft could have more control over hiring for the studio, and they could give them money and decide how it was used. Because like as a second party independent studio, Microsoft has no right to do their hiring for them. If Undead Labs says we can do this with 50 devs or however many they have, that's on Undead Labs.
Yeah. Can you imagine if they gave the content of State of Decay 2 with the production budget of Sea of Thieves and what you could get?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but that's State of Decay is another thing. It's like they did have full control over State of Decay. Sorry, Sea of Thieves. They did have full control over Sea of Thieves, and that turned out to be a bit disappointing. But I tell you one thing, Rand, I am far less disappointed with State of Decay 2 than I was with Sea of Thieves, to be
dude,
honest.
dude, I'm never gonna let you live this down, but and I'm sure nobody else ever will, but I do recall when you told me that Sea of Thieves was gonna be this year's PUBG.
Well, there's still time, baby.
Yeah, it's still time. The game is at like number 28 on the most played list and micro. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The
maybe.
time has come and gone. I
Maybe.
mean,
You don't know, man. What if the next couple of
the
DLCs is just
hungering deep.
amazing?
Yeah, what if the hungering deep adds content? I look. I get people get hyped. I know
I got so
you get
hyped.
hyped into the stuff, and you were kind of believing that the game had things that didn't have. But I remember reading that tweet. People were DMing me, sending me the link to your tweet, like Rand, what's up with your boy? What's going on with Jez? And I'm like, hey, oh, I don't agree with Jez. You know, I'm like, Sea of Thieves is this year's PUBG. Jazz. What are we gonna do with you?
Dude.
Well, if Sea of
I just
Thieves is
got a
this year's
completely
PUBG,
different
what's
impression from
if
what
sea,
they showed me.
if Sea of Thieves is this year's PUBG? What's this year's Fortnite then?
I don't know. Overwatch Battle Royale? I don't know.
Overwatch Battle Royale. Can you imagine if they?
I just made that up. I don't know if that's real.
Can,
I just made it up.
could you imagine tracers everywhere? Um. Yeah.
Wait
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
What?
Thor Silerson.
Yeah. So, you're still loving State of Decay. I know you've been playing it quite a bit. Me and you haven't been able to play yet. We tried. We even like, hey, we'll play in the morning, but we never got it. We never were able to.
Yeah.
So,
I've actually
unfortunately,
had some. I've had some luck with the because I was bitching about the dedicated servers, right? Because it's got a host client infrastructure, which means that you connect to the host and then you have to deal with, the distance between your connection, So me playing with someone in America generally creates this level of lag that just makes the game unplayable. But I was streaming the game with Roby, who's on the West Coast, and I didn't have much lag, so I don't know if I was unlucky before or lucky this time or what, but it does seem to depend. It depends so much on the quality of your connection, which is a shame because it's first party and Microsoft is supposed to be the cloud team. Team Cloud, what happened?
you did tweet out that you have heard that State of Decay 2 is selling better than originally thought it would, or at least exceeding expectations.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know. I got no evidence, but I've heard that's doing all right.
Yeah.
So
Well, probably won't be do as well as Sea of Thieves, right?
no, Sea of Thieves just had a much bigger marketing budget behind it and big hype train, got YouTubers involved, and all that stuff. So, and also it was just a bit more polished, I mean, yet fine, there was less stuff to polish, but it was a bit more polished. So I don't think State of Decay will achieve what Sea of Thieves achieved, possibly. But the thing is, Sea of Thieves really has its no State of Decay. I keep getting mixed up because I'm tired, but State of Decay has an established fan base, a really passionate established fan base. Back right from when Undead Lab started, and you had fans of Jeff Strain, who worked on World of Warcraft back in the day. They bought into the vision for State of Decay and their whole idea surrounding it. Simulation games have like a really passionate fan base in general too. Like I love simulation games, and a lot of people who play simulation games they soak up as many as they can because there's not that many of them, So like it's jumped from one sim to the next and stuff like that. The State of Decay sort of blends so many different genres in quite a competent sort of way. Like the vehicle handling State of Decay is pretty good, compared to like some other games that have vehicles and like they've really nailed the music, and the zombie gore is just hilarious. Like you don't really notice it because it's third person view and your eyes are glued to the minimap a lot of the time. But
That's
like
true, yeah.
you can blast their arms and legs off, you can blast their stomach and all their giblets fall out and their intestines and stuff like that. And it's so satisfying to run them over and stuff like that. Like it looks ugly, but the combat for me is really satisfying. So I'm hoping that Microsoft sticks with State of Decay, keeps Undead Labs funded so they can polish it up, and really, bring it to Steam too, and give the fans what they wanted, or what, at least the level of polish that they deserve, and then hopefully pick them up and give us State of Decay 3 with a polish and dedicated servers, and help that IP realize its true potential, because this is more like State of Decay 1.5, I think.
Yeah. So, you played anything else besides that game?
Nope.
Probably not. No,
Pretty much not.
just State of Decay 2 for Jazz.
I was addicted to Conan Exiles, really addicted to that, like building and that whole Minecraft-esque gameplay loop, only with naked people.
Ooh.
But State of Decay completely pulled me out of it. It was just like, okay, well, I could grind trees for an hour, or I could grind zombies for an hour, and zombies are more interesting than trees. So
Yeah, you even put out and said you take State of Decay over Halo and Gears of War and stuff, and I was like, Jazz, come on now.
nah, I didn't say Gears. I don't think.
I
said I'd take it over Forza and Sunset Overdrive and Halo, I think.
Oh my God, Jazz, come on. Let's
Seriously.
sit down and talk here.
I might even take it over Gears.
No.
I
No.
like simulators. No, I think what I said was I'd rather get State of Decay 3. If I had to choose and there was budget for State of Decay 3, polished AAA, or Halo 6, and I had to choose between them, I'd choose State of Decay every single time.
If that was the case, it was a choice between Halo and State of Decay. State of Decay is going in the trash.
Yeah, well, that's most people. But I think Halo is pretty boring.
Yeah.
Especially modern Halo. Like, the Promethean enemies are lame. They are so lame.
No,
And
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
It's so boring. The campaign. I'm talking about the campaign specifically. Like Halo multiplayer. Like, I don't have any problems with that whatsoever. But I think Halo's campaigns are just really boring compared to Doom, Wolfenstein. Halo 5 was just an utter snooze fest for me. I'm sorry, like, to Halo fans out there, but I just thought it was so boring and unmemorable, and it's just terrible. I will never ever play Halo's campaign ever again. Halo 5's campaign, that is.
Well, if you want to talk about something that's terrible, you ready for this? You
Sure.
ready for a game I played?
Go on.
H1Z1 on PlayStation 4.
All right. I got an email about that today. Something about big esports pros pool.
So, you know that my group tends to play PUBG all the time, right? We're really into PUBG. Me, Magic, Maka, my buddy Sam, Gopher, we all play that stuff. Well, Magic's really into Battle Royale, like really, right? And he has a PlayStation. He wanted to try out H1Z1. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll get it on PlayStation. So download it. It's got it's like a free open beta or whatever. The game's free. And on PlayStation Plus, you don't need PlayStation Plus to play free-to-play multiplayer games, which is something that Microsoft really should think into changing, right? At least I think so. The fact that you have to subscribe to Xbox Live Gold to play multiplayer in general is lame, but we understand why. But the fact that for a free-to-play game, you still need Xbox Live Gold is pretty shameless by Microsoft, especially when PlayStation is actually doing it for free. And I got to shout out a couple of super chats. Showen said thanks for God of War earlier. I wanted to thank him for that. And Osman says, cheers, lads. Thank you guys for the support. It really means a lot. But so H1Z1. So I was really interested in checking it out. I had heard that it runs at 60 frames, and it does, Jez. Oh my. Especially coming from PUBG on console, H1Z1 runs at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second. Right?
Is it as graphically intense as it?
Oh, hell no. The game looks like a PS2 game.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, so that's the thing. So it looks like it looks like a PlayStation 2 game. No exaggeration. It seems to be the more arcadey brother of PUBG. Like, I know Fortnite's really arcadey. PUBG is kind of more realistic. So H1Z1 kind of is like PUBG, but just kind of a more arcadey feel. It's like the only thing I enjoyed about H1Z1 was the how it performed, because the way it looked, the way it controlled, the way the guns work, how it aimed. Because in PUBG, you could hip fire, or you could kind of aim down sights but not go into a scope, or you could scope down sights. They give you kind of like three options to shoot. Well, in
Yeah.
H1Z1, it's two. You either hip fire, or when you go down the left trigger, you actually go to zoom. You actually go to like a scope view. It's kind of
Right.
a little bit jarring, and the matches actually, I don't know, they tend to go pretty fast. We only played like 3 games because the servers seemed to be overloaded. We tried, matching together in a party of like 3, and it would throw one of us in a game by ourselves or 2 of us, but never all 3 of us. So it was just kind of just, I don't know, clusterfuck, I guess. But hey, a lot of people are apparently playing it. Um, and then we immediately went back to PUBG, and PUBG is a way better game, way better looking game. The controls and aiming are much better. The only thing that it doesn't have going for it is it doesn't run as well as H1Z1. So, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I didn't really particularly care for it. And the other game I played was Heavy Rain, which
Ooh.
is a Quantic Dream game from back in 2010.
Yes, I've played that. That's one of the few PS3 games I have played.
Yeah. So I played that, and I put out a review today, and I was fairly disappointed in the title. Fairly disappointed, and I know a lot, like a lot of people,
Much kinder than I would say.
yeah, like a lot of people seem to think like I only praise PlayStation, but that's not necessarily true. I'm always honest when it comes to what I think about games, or I'm always honest in general. But man, that game has some of the worst controls for an interactive like game like that. Oh, the controls are just so
Hasn't aged
janky.
well. At the time, it was really like the facial expressions were really, really impressive.
Right, and that's what I said in my review. It's a product of its time. 10 years ago or 8 years ago when this came out, in considering like the Telltale games really weren't a thing yet, I could see people really be taken with it. Like, oh my god, this is so unique. But 8 years later, I've played so many clones of it. I mean, it didn't really age well. The voice acting is horrible. Press X to Jason. Jason, like literally the first hour of the game, I wanted to turn it off because it was so bad. And I was texting my buddy, I'm like, does this game get good? When does this game get good? Because I'm about to turn it off because I was about to get about to be bored to death, right? And it eventually got good. I like the mystery of the origami killer and Ethan's trials. Like it was like a Saw movie. Like he had to drive down a road in the opposite direction. He had to cut off a finger. He had to kill somebody in cold blood to prove that he wanted to save his son. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, but the rest of the game was just kind of There's a female character in the game to literally just be tits and ass. She's introduced in a pair of panties. She gets naked a whole bunch of times. She serves no purpose to the story other than being visual eye candy. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I played it back in the day, and I was not a fan even then. It was the voice acting, I think, that did it for me. Like hammy sort of cliches and all that sort of stuff. And I also played their first game, Indigo Prophecy, which is called Fahrenheit in the UK, I think. Or was it the other way around? I can't remember. It had a different name in Europe for some reason. And like that game started off really good, but then I don't know if you know Indigo Prophecy, but like it starts off pretty cool, like a murder mystery, and then becomes Dragon Ball Z halfway through. It's like, what? So like that studio, they seem to. I mean, obviously, I don't know anything about Detroit. I haven't really been following it, but they seem to have like these really great ideas, and then think too hard about them, and they become ridiculous. That's kind of the impression I get from that studio. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I appreciated like the Saw aspects and the mystery of who the origami killer is, but the reveal of the origami killer was just, it was so dumb.
Yeah.
So spoilers. I don't feel bad about spoiling an 8-year-old title, right? But one of the characters you play as, Scott Shelby, who's a private investigator looking into the origami killer, is the origami killer. Shock!
Spoilers.
Oh my god!
1,000 years ago.
I know, but like it doesn't make any sense in the context of the story. It like you have to go through incredible leaps of logic to even get it to make sense.
I feel like they slipped that in as the plot twist for the sake of having a plot twist. I just don't know. I'm not a fan of that game.
Yeah, so I'm glad I played it to see what it's like. Hopefully, Detroit's much better. I did see the reviews come out today. It's sitting at an 80 on Metacritic. Lots of 8s and
Not bad.
9s and 7s, and lots of 5s and 6s. It seems to be fairly split. It looks like if you love Quantum Break, you're gonna love this. If you don't care for
Heavy
it,
Rain. Yeah, Heavy Rain was like that too. It was like polarizing. Some people were like, "Oh God, this is genius," and other people like, "No, this is really bad." So it seems like a polarizing studio,
yeah.
and it's a bit of a controversial studio, isn't it? Because they had all that. I mean, I really don't know much about this, but didn't they have like, wasn't there some kind of expose in the mainstream French press about that studio specifically being like a bad work environment or something?
Something
I
like
don't know.
that.
I
I mean,
don't know
I think they're in some like legal things, or like they're suing the people who said that or something. I don't know.
much. Fair enough.
Either way, the game was okay. It definitely is a product of its time. I'm looking forward to playing Detroit tonight. I have it pre-ordered on PlayStation. It looks like a cool game. We'll see if it's better than Heavy Rain. I was told to stay far away from Beyond Two Souls, which I
Ooh,
guess
I
is their other game.
forgot about that game.
Yeah, I guess it's their other game. But everybody I've talked to was like, "Don't play Beyond Two Souls. It's bad. Play Heavy Rain. It's really good." Right? And I played Heavy Rain, and it's okay. But honestly, when I was playing the game, I was thinking about how Until Dawn is way better in every way than Heavy Rain. And I was looking on Metacritic, and Heavy Rain got an 88, on Metacritic, and I'm just like, "Whoo, oh boy!" And then and then Until Dawn, which is a very similar game, but does everything better, and I literally mean everything, is like 10 points lower, and I'm like, interesting, you know?
Hmm. I think like when you look at old review scores, it does seem like review score weights have definitely changed over time, and like the way that what gets valued above other things is completely changed over the years. I mean, obviously that's going to happen, but it's just interesting sometimes to look at. I might go into more depth on this.
I've said this in party before, and we've discussed this. I think reviewers are harsher this gen than last gen.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think I think people, I don't know what it is. Maybe playing a lot of these annualized franchises get people jaded. Maybe these reviewers have been in the industry for so long. I don't know, but I feel like games don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore, whereas like
Well,
previously they would. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but I
I
truly do feel people review harder or this gen than last gen.
it's it's weird, because like games journalism is a weird profession for stars. I think a lot of professional games journalists who went to school to become a journalist, I think they probably wanted to be like real journalists, like covering real things, and not maybe not games so much. And like they over time, games journalism seems to be less about the fun and more about art criticism, like trying to review things like their movies and quantify things. When I review games personally, I try and think about value for money because we're a tech site, and that's how I've been taught to look at it. Because we review laptops and stuff like that. So I try to say, right, is this value for money? Stuff like that. And maybe that's the wrong way of doing it. I don't know. But like, I don't really like reviewing games, to be honest, because it's so subjective. And and your personal biases come in. Like I weight dedicated servers more highly than other reviewer might, for example. So like I would have given State of Decay a lower score because it had bad dedicated servers. But I don't mind the janky animation so much. So maybe another reviewer would have rated it differently for that reason. I don't know. There's no like standard, I guess. You have to like find the reviewer that you tend to agree with, and I mean, if you even bother reading reviews, I never read reviews. Do you?
No. I really don't read reviews. I watch. There's a couple people I like. I like Skill Up on YouTube. I really like ACG on YouTube. I feel like they're some of the best reviewers out there. So I watch their videos, but I never let it influence. Like like, I know some people will be like, oh my god, Detroit's getting an 80 mixed reviews, cancel pre-order, but it's like, I'm gonna get it because it looks interesting from the trailers and stuff, and if it's a bad game, I'll say it's a bad game. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't let other people's opinions influence on whether or not I want to play something. I'm just gonna play something if it looks interesting to me.
So I hate the idea of speaking for people, like saying like you should like this game because blah blah blah. I'd rather say, well, this game does this well and this poorly, maybe compared to this other thing. Do you want to spend your money on it? So like, I think of it from that. I try to think of it from that perspective, because at least you can sort of quantify some things. Like you can quantify a bug. Bugs are bad. You can quantify that. But how do you quantify like some of the other stuff, like whether the art style is good or not? Some people like that, some people don't. I'm not gonna sit there and tell someone they shouldn't like an art style, because that's subjective. I don't like Borderlands art style. I don't like Fortnite's art style, cartoony. I don't like that.
Wait, you don't like the shell shaded look that Borderlands has?
No, I don't.
So do you like the shell shaded look of Crackdown, or you hate that too?
No, I don't like cell shading at all.
Yeah.
I would never say to someone, you shouldn't like cell shading because I said so. I'd never do that. But a lot of game journalists seem to want to do that. So I don't know. I kind of gone off on the tangent there, but.
And you know what those game journalists would say? They'd say, "Why don't you hit the like button on the video? Because we have like 440 people watching and not even 100 likes yet. Come on, guys, it's
really
free."
Interesting the way you think of a new way of slipping that in every week. That's impressive.
I always wait to the end of the videos to do that, but in a podcast, it's like, come on, like hit that like button. We're putting on a show here for you guys, and it doesn't cost anything. Or dislike it. I don't know. I mean, 10 people apparently don't like the show. I mean, like it, dislike it, just do something.
I'm not going to speak for you. We're not going to speak for you on this podcast. You like it, fine. If you dislike it, fine.
That's right.
It's up to you. You're your own people.
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm so tired. I'm slipping into delirium. Right.
Slipping into delirium. So yeah, that's what I played this week. I'm really looking forward to playing Detroit. Look for a video, obviously, for that. I put out a Doom video for Tim since I finished Doom, but I don't know. Like, you're gonna have to teach me Adobe, or you're gonna have to teach me Premiere Pro, because I couldn't get it to work right in Windows Live Movie Maker. I don't know. It wasn't coming out right. So I got to learn Premiere.
It's good, man. We'll go through Premiere. I love that program.
Yeah,
I love Adobe programs.
Yeah, since I'm still a student studying business and all that good stuff, I got everything from Adobe for $20 a month.
So, if you're studying business, does that mean like soon we'll be able to start our own business and become millionaires?
Yeah, I mean, we could totally start like a Xbox 2 like LLC or something. Although I don't know how that would work, considering Xbox is trademarked.
We could call it something else, like Xbox with a U. We'll call it Xbone. Bring that back.
Xbone? Ooh. People get so upset when other people call like the system Xbone. Like I never really got like it doesn't bother. Like, here's the thing. Some people are emotionally invested into the console, and when you call it that name, they get so upset.
I think it's a little unprofessional when a PR company does it.
Sure,
like when
you
see a PR company do it, it's like, wow. I mean, do you want your fans to like it?
Like if like Warner Brothers came out and it was like, hey, we got this Batman game for the Xbone. The Xboner.
That happens more often than you would expect.
Well, yeah,
it's usually like smaller PR companies, but it's like it happens, and it's weird when it does.
An iCarly fan says Major Nelson got mad about it, and I remember that. But it's like, how could you not realize people were going to shorten Xbox One into Xbone? Like, literally, were you that blind? But then I did hear that only like 3 people knew what the name of the Xbox was when they revealed it. Like, I was told that story by a few people. Like, no, there's like 3 people that knew, or something like that. And it was just like,
that's the problem when you don't tell anyone the name, they can't get enough feedback on whether it's a good name or not.
That guy Dan wants to know what we're discussing. It's like, I don't know, whatever we want. We just talk. It's just a conversation between 2 friends. And we just happen to be talking about Xboners right now.
The best kind of boner. Wait,
yeah.
What?
But a lot of people felt, I don't know, they feel they feel like the console's getting disrespected if you call it that name. How dare you call my system the Xbone? I never look. You can make fun of Xbox all day long. You can say its games are shit. You can say it to my face. You'd be like, and people do in the comments section. They think I get so triggered when they're like, "Rand, you're an X-tard. You're an X-tard. Xbox has no games," and they think that it's like gonna affect me in some way. And I'm like, dude, it only affects you. Like, you're the one triggered to come into my comment section and leave stupid shit thinking that it's somehow going to impact my life. I don't care what you call the Xbox. I don't care if you make jokes about it. It's a fucking plastic machine. Like, who cares? I don't get it. But people get defensive about it, you know. Either way. Hey, did you also know that this week was the 5-year kind of anniversary of the Xbox One reveal event? I did a video about that.
I didn't know that, but I saw Shinobi's tweet and the responses. It was funny.
Oh, it was, dude, I still remember watching that conference, Jez. Being like an Xbox fan who was kind of a little bit disappointed about how the 360 ended up, basically focused on Kinect, thinking to myself, man, Microsoft is going to do it. They're going to do it. This is going to be so great. And it was just the worst thing I've ever seen. So much so where I was like, literally after that conference, I'm like, I'm getting a fucking PS4. Like this is horrible. And the worst part about it was afterwards. Afterwards, you had all these articles come out from all these different websites quoting a different person at Microsoft, whether it was Phil Spencer or Don Matrick or Youssef Mehdi, saying different things about the DRM program and the 24-hour check-in, and Phil Harrison said this and this person said this, and they honestly weren't even on the same page. And I'm like, if they're not on the same page and they don't know how their shit works, like, what the hell? Jez, it blew my mind, dude. It blew my mind.
It was bad. We talked about this before. I was like, it reminded me of the PlayStation 3 reveal, the way that they just gotten too comfortable and just screwed it all up. It was impressive, but I kind of feel bad for them now, knowing what I know, because like Windows 8 was struggling, right? And you can say this ain't an excuse, but some of that stuff was about helping Windows 8. And you know, the whole entertainment thing, and it was all supposed to be this connected ecosystem, and it comes back to mobile too. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's frankly really boring, but they were stuck in a weird place then. They're getting out of it now, and they've gotten to a point where Microsoft are just like, if you can't beat them, join them, you know, and they've sort of like Cortana's the digital assistant Cortana, she's going away pretty much. Microsoft are partnering with Amazon on that because Amazon Echo has just completely crushed any hope of Cortana ever being a thing. So they've given up on that. They've given up on mobile, you know, given up on Kinect. They've sort of learned when to quit, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It is what it is, man.
Well, my dude, Kid Smooth, shout out to Kid Smooth, he wants to know what made me get an Xbox One first. And while I was very, you know, like upset at what Microsoft was trying to do, they did remove all the DRM stuff close after E3. They, you know, talked about removing that 24-hour check-in, what they did. And I honestly did feel that the launch lineup for Xbox was a little bit better than the launch lineup for PlayStation. And honestly, at that point in time, I could only afford one system. I was either the Xbox or the PlayStation. And then all my friends kind of all came around once Microsoft removed everything and was like, we're all getting Xboxes. And I was like, well, everyone's getting an Xbox. I think I had 700,000 gamer score at the time. And I'm like, all right, you know, Rise looks pretty cool. Dead Rising 3, you know, I enjoyed Dead Rising. I'm a huge Halo fan. That's all coming. So it was like basically all that. And that's why I picked the Xbox. I bought it. Never hooked up Kinect. Threw it in a drawer. You know, like, because who wants? I know you love Kinect. I know you love Kinect, but no,
I'm lazy. I like being lazy. I like shouting at my TV. I liked it. I miss it, frankly.
Yeah. So, speaking about a launch title, or not a launch title, a game that launched in 2014, Sunset Overdrive. It's back in the news again, Jez.
Yes, it is.
Because apparently it's coming to PC.
That's the rumor. It was rated by Microsoft Korea. Apparently, um, we have reached out to Microsoft for comment, and they haven't responded yet. So, I don't know. I expect they would have shut it down if it wasn't a thing, but I think it is a thing. I think it is coming to PC, probably Steam, not Windows 10.
So, do you think that means Microsoft changed their stance on it? Because originally, when asked, Insomniac said it was up to Xbox if the PC version would happen, and it looks like it is. So does that mean Microsoft is okay with it going to PC? Does this mean there's renewed interest in the franchise? I mean, you
Well, put
did
it this way,
say
man.
in your
I
prediction thing that
Yes.
you had heard Sunset Overdrive isn't dead. Could this literally be what they're talking about? Sunset Overdrive coming to PC literally be that, and not necessarily Sunset Overdrive 2 being worked on?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing, right? I've heard just literally these words that the IP isn't dead. Now, that could mean literally anything, right? That could mean that they're just bringing it to PC. That could mean that maybe they're gonna work on a sequel or try and fund one or whatever. I don't know. But put it this way: if Sunset Overdrive is coming to PC, Steam, whatever, and it proves to be popular, they'll fund a new game because money talks, you know.
Yes, money
So
talks and bullshit walks. I gotta remember we're on iTunes. I gotta keep the swearing down to basically nothing. It was
well,
only
you've
a
already
mature.
dropped the F bomb,
I
so we're
know,
pretty
I
much mature
know.
rating now for this.
Yeah, this episode's mature rated. I guess we can just talk about the like whole bunch of like dirty topics now since we're mature rated. Nah, we
Yeah, let's
won't.
talk about the dong slider in Conan Exiles.
Yes, let's talk about them huge dongs that fly in your face if you play Conan. Um,
There is a kind of a hot topic we could talk about, so to speak. That Steam was it
yeah.
caught in hot water this week because
Well,
they banned a load of
yeah, so let's talk about that. But
anime
first,
games.
I got to shout out the
Uh,
Analog Circle podcast for their super chat. He says, "Will you guys be doing a reactions video to the Sony conference? You guys are awesome. Stay great." Um, I will definitely be doing obviously a PlayStation reaction show either after their conference or the next day. It's probably too late for Jez because Sony's goes on at 8 p.m. Central Time. So that's probably like 5 a.m. for Jez.
yeah, it is. I never watched the Sony conference. I mean, because of that most of the time, but um, I probably wouldn't watch it anyway because I'm not really that interested.
Yeah, so I definitely will be giving my reactions to it. I think me and Jez might be doing something after the expo. We haven't really, talked about it, but we'll be doing videos and podcasts talking about,
Yeah,
how they
well,
did or whatever. Um, but yeah, so the Steam thing, that was pretty interesting. My buddy Gopher was telling me about this. What exactly are they doing? So like they're trying to tell visual novel games with really heightened sexuality or something or
well,
sex to like censor their games, but then not doing the same thing to like Grand Theft Auto and like Rockstar and stuff, or like
okay, well, first of all, I don't fully know the full story on this. I haven't researched it myself, and I don't know whether Valve's issued a statement or whatever. But well, I think they've been pretty quiet about it. But basically, what happened was there's this game called Honey Pop, I believe, which
and Gopher
now
knows exactly what that game is because he just said justice for anime waifus. He loves that
yeah.
stuff.
So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know anything about that game. I played Galgun. That's pretty interesting. But Honey Pop is yeah. Galgun's like this. It's like this game where you shoot anime girls and blow their clothes off with a laser gun in VR or something. I don't know. But Honey Pop is a little bit more explicit. It's basically like a visual novel where you can be with your waifus and whatever. And Steam sent the devs of that game an email saying censor your game or it faces deletion from Steam. And obviously, people are censorship often gets like people really riled up, but like particularly so with this content. And I suppose part of it is just the waifu factor, but it's also there's an element of hypocrisy because there are AAA games with nudity and sexuality and sexual scenes and some very explicit sexual scenes, and it's kind of like, well, are they going to ban those games, or are those games okay because they got loads of money attached to them? So Steam attracted a lot of criticism for this, and I believe they sent the Honey Pop devs an apology, blah blah blah, saying that they wouldn't be censoring their game now. So they've basically, I think Steam doesn't have a clue what it's doing. The company has pretty much no certification process for games. They let pretty much any crap onto their store, and as a result, they don't know whether something's offensive or whether it isn't because they never check anything. I think that's the truth here, personally. But yeah, Steam, well, Valve's caught some flack over this. And where do you stand, Rand? Do you think pornographic games, should be a-okay?
Pornographic game, like are we talking just like a game where you screw like those flash games that sometimes pop up if you have your ad blocker disabled when you go to some websites? Like
That's pretty much what I think Honey Pop is. It's like you
see, I don't know what
make decisions and be naughty with anime waifus.
If it's something along the lines of we're censoring it because we don't want to show nudity, and you do it to those games but not to some of the bigger games, then that's like a bad kind of double standard. Or you need to be either do it to everybody or not do it at all. Like I hate kind of the selective process. Like of course they're going to be like, well, these Japanese visual novels have to do it, but you know CD Projekt Red and Rockstar, we're not going to bother with them and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, Steam, I don't know, didn't they back down on this a little bit or something?
Yeah, they completely backed down. They said they apologized to the dev and said they won't be censoring it now.
Yeah,
and other games that were threatened, they backed down too.
But, yeah, so I don't know, like. Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends, like, because, like, you can go to see a movie, it's rated R, and it could have, you know, nudity in it with some sex, but then there's also porn or adult-rated movies which, you know, feature penetration. Oh, yeah, penetration.
Yeah, I think that is what Honey Pop has.
Yeah, so, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, look, Microsoft and Sony, they have a policy of not publishing AO-titled games on their service, right? Yes. I mean, that's Heavy Rain's fine because it just shows some fucking tits, Mass Effect, alien sex, you know, Geralt from The Witcher, you know, the chicks riding him or whatever, and this, like, that's fine because it doesn't show like actual, you know, sex. But I don't know. I haven't played one of those games. I don't know what they're like. I know my buddy Gopher plays them all. Like he's a fiend for that stuff. So I'm sure he could probably tell us. But he probably wouldn't want to come on the podcast and say and admit that he's plays them all. But yeah,
that is a waifu guy.
He definitely loves his waifus. Definitely loves them. Let's talk about Battlefield 5.
Battlefield.
Speaking of people getting triggered, oh boy, did Battlefield.
Oh yeah. I think last time I looked, it had a 50% dislike ratio. The trailer did, which is just insane to me. And I love some of the excuses that people use here to like basically say, I'm not sexist, but it's like I want realism in my games, in a game where you can heal bullet shot to the head with a syringe. You know, it's like, man, my thoughts on this are just like, it's a video game. Who cares? You know?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
who cares?
Like, some people would say. Well, let's actually talk about what they showed. I felt the reveal event was lackluster.
Oh, it was terrible.
It was terrible. Like, and you compare it to like what Call of Duty did. Call of Duty looks like way better in comparison. Not the game, the way they revealed it. Right? They only showed like 40 seconds of a kind of fake gameplay trailer. Like it looks really great, and I was watching it, and I'm like, okay, this is really good. And then they just like threw on the HUD, and it was just like none of these movements seem real. It's kind of like the Killzone stuff from back in 2005. I'm like, why not just show an actual gameplay segment instead of showing something that looks really good and pretending it's gameplay? You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not a fan of that stuff. Show me something real.
Yeah, it's like I said, I watched it on my phone. So at first I couldn't really, because I got a BlackBerry, right, which has a tiny screen, and I was watching on my phone and I was like, oh wow, this looks awesome. But then I watched it on my PC and it was like, oh, that's pre-rendered. So GG. They the whole pre-rendered trailer thing, you think they would have learned from like Ubisoft and stuff like that. But they did get some things right, Rand.
What'd they get right? What do you think they got right?
Well, loot boxes are gone, apparently.
Yeah, who knows with EA? They could be gone for launch and then come in later. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. You can't trust the EA with this stuff anymore. Like, well, ever really. But after Battlefront, they can say this stuff, but it's like I ain't gonna believe you, not yet. But it
Not
sounds,
ever.
yeah, maybe not ever, but it sounds like they've taken the feedback to heart. At least no season pass, so no fragmented player base like Battlefield One. Like Battlefield One has like the Battlefield Premium thing, which I personally think is good value for money. Like they give you loads of maps. I was going to say free maps then, but no, it's not free. But they give you loads of maps for that money, and I've always felt that's value for money. I've been buying that since Battlefield 3, I think. But the downside is it fragments your player base. Like there's pretty much nobody playing the later maps in Battlefield 1, and it was like that in the other Battlefields too. You couldn't get a game in those maps that you purchased because the community's fragmented. So there's no map pack. There's no map packs. Everyone's going to be on an equal footing and all that stuff, which is great. But then, and someone tweeted this, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but shout out to whoever that was. But they said that I'm worried now that without the premium pass, it's going to lead to less content because EA has been pretty terrible at supporting Battlefront 2 post-launch. I don't know if you've seen like the stuff that
I've seen the stuff, but I wonder if that has to do with the fact that the game didn't do as well as they expected, so they just kind of, abandoned ship, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean they had to. That's the hope, at least, that because they had to pivot so hard on how they were going to monetize that game, and basically retrofit a lot of stuff. It probably screwed up their plans, and maybe, just maybe, it won't be that way for Battlefield 5. But at the same time, it could just be like they're just gonna spend a few years trying to get goodwill back, and then they'll start doing map packs and loot boxes again when everyone's forgotten about it in a few years, which is pretty much what EA's always done. That EA's been in this situation before, like when everyone was mad at them for making like SimCity require online services, even though it was an offline game. Everyone was mad at them for that. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, we promise we'll do better next time." Blah blah blah. I wrote an article about this, and like there are multiple times throughout the last 15 years or so where EA's been like, "Oh, sorry, we'll do better next time," and then they don't, and then they're like, they have a couple of years where they try to appeal to their fan base. Like they made a Mirror's Edge game that was pretty much just for the fans. And fair enough, and they do these things that make you think that maybe they're turning a new leaf, and like Dead Rising, for example, not Dead Rising, sorry, Dead Space. Like even back when Dead Space launched, the narrative was that AAA horror was dead and that nobody could do it. And EA put that out, and it was a bit of a surprise for EA to take a chance on that sort of game, and then Dante's Inferno as well. It felt like they were and the original Mirror's Edge. It felt like they were trying new things and trying to be less of a lame company for a little while. And obviously like stuff like Dragon Age. Dragon Age is like probably my favorite RPG franchise of all time. Like overall, like I really love The Witcher 3, but The Witcher 1 and 2 weren't that great. But I absolutely loved every single Dragon Age. I absolutely love that franchise, and I'm worried that EA is going to screw up the fourth one. But it's a whole
you're ranting about EA.
conversation.
You're ranting about EA.
Ranting about EA, yeah. It's like it's a problem because EA. You want to believe that nobody at EA is actually evil, but then they do these things like Mass Effect Andromeda and Battlefront 2 in the same year. Impressive amount of negative PR that was. So I don't know, man. I want to believe that Battlefield 5 will mark the start of a more pro game at EA, because we live in a world where like the Reddit flash mob is a more powerful voice than the media and stuff like that. So hopefully EA will, I mean, it hasn't hurt their bottom line too much, to be fair. I mean, Battlefront 2 still sold what, 10 million copies? Boo hoo,
Yeah.
but
But
at
it's
the same
interesting.
time.
It's interesting with Battlefield 5 though, Jez, because the big trend is battle royale, and I think they've come out and said no battle royale, whereas Call of Duty is doing that, right? They have the campaign in this one. Um,
I have no interest in Call of Duty whatsoever.
No, I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd prefer Battlefield. But at least call like the regular multiplayer for Black Ops 4 looks the same as it always same. Zombies is
Mm.
zombies. At least there's that battle royale mode, which you're not really sure how that's going to play out. Like Call of Duty, but a battle royale twist on it. It like could be interesting, could be garbage. We don't know yet. At least that's interesting. At least with Battlefield 1, I mean Battlefield 5, it just looks like a Battlefield game, even though like there's some changes to it and stuff like that. But like the thing I took away from all this is why is everybody scared of November? What's wrong with November all of a sudden? Like I'm watching this
I
and
don't
I'm like,
know.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, you have Call of Duty on October 12th, you have Red Dead on October 26th, and I'm like, oh, they're really not going to sandwich. They're not going to be the Titanfall 2 in this situation, are they? And sure enough, they are October 19th. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what the heck's wrong with November? Like, there's literally no game announced for November. Like, October's full at this point. September's full for the most part with Spider-Man and Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Spyro. And I'm like, what's coming in November? Like, is Red Dead really that scary to everybody else that they have to get out before it? Like, it's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. I mean, I expect Red Dead to be a great game. And also, it's probably going to have that whole battle royale thing, blah blah blah. But is it going to be such a tour de force that no one else can touch it? I would personally right now. I'm more interested in Battlefield 5 than Red Dead. Personally, but I don't know.
I'm more interested in Red Dead than Battlefield. Battlefield
I think it's because like I know that Red Dead's going to be a good game. Or a great game even. I just kind of know. You just kind of know with Rockstar. They don't really let you down very much, very often. But like, so like I just sort of put it on my to-do list. Whereas Battlefield 5, I'm just kind of curious, like because we don't really know anything about it. I don't know.
Sam Tolbert in chat says one big publisher has yet to reveal their big gun this year, and I'm assuming he's talking about Bethesda. You know, what if the rumored Starfield is coming out in November? Would people really be that scared of a new IP from Bethesda? You know, I could see people being scared of Elder Scrolls, perhaps, like an Elder Scrolls 6 or something.
What if Halo 6 is launching in November?
Nobody's scared. Nobody's scared of Halo at this point.
What if it's got a Battle Royale mode, though, man?
Ooh,
Halo Battle Royale.
Yeah, interesting. Now people will be terrified.
I don't know. Decay.
Kingdom Hearts 3 will probably come out in November. It's probably at least one game.
Meh.
Maybe Splinter Cell potentially, because Ubisoft said one of their unannounced franchise games is coming out between like this holiday and in March 2019. And the only thing it really can be is a new Splinter Cell or a new Watch Dogs, because Division.
Surely it's too early for Watch Dogs.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know. The first one came out May 2014. And Watch Dogs 2 came out in November 2016. So maybe it's too early, but then Splinter Cell, baby. I mean, they could launch it in November. I mean, maybe it's a good time. I don't know. I'm not really sure what other games are even scheduled to come out this year. Maybe the Gears spinoff come out in November now, and I have.
I don't know, man. Oh, I don't know.
You don't know, but one thing you do know about is Xbox Live never going free, or Xbox Live multiplayer never being free.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yes.
And this triggers Jez. And you know what else? You know what else triggers Jez and triggers people? Women being in Battlefield. Women being in Battlefield triggers a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know why. Like, it's a first off, they're like, it's not historically accurate. It's like, it's a video game, for Christ's sake. They're just social justice warriors throwing down their political beliefs into my throat. Like, do you honestly think
what is political about having a female in the game? I don't get this stuff, because I guess I'm not American, and the whole social justice warrior thing seems to be more of an American thing. I don't know. We don't. I just don't know. It's just so ridiculous to me. I just could not care less. I mean, Battlefield's not a history lesson, first of all. You know, like people said, like it looks too wacky and steampunk or something. I don't know. I mean, I saw people complaining that they wanted modern combat because they were bored of World War II, and then in the same breath say it's not realistic enough. It's like, even if it is like a sort of spin on World War II, why was it okay for Wolfenstein? I don't know, man. I just think it's silly. I'm just think
Thing
people
is
are
I don't know.
weird.
Like, I don't think of politics when I see that. I'm like, hey, that's a good looking cover, you know. And when I play the game,
Doesn't bother me.
and I'm like, I don't think, why is there a chick here? It's just like,
I think
whatever.
some people just like to be angry, and they
Mm.
just look for things to be angry about. And I think we've gotten to a point in society now where we're unsure what is really worth being angry over. There are so many things in this world that are unjust, like genuinely unjust. And this is what you pick to be pissed off about? Fuck off. Sorry. But seriously, it's just ridiculous. It annoys me, man.
Yeah. I wonder if Battlefield 5 sales will suffer because of it. Because Infinite Warfare was immediately disliked. You remember, you saw the dislikes on that trailer. You know, one of the worst selling CODs. The dislikes on this trailer aren't very good either. I wonder if, you know, like, I wonder if people are going to take it out of the game, and then it's probably not going to sell well just because it's the sandwich between Red Dead and you know, Call of Duty. And I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know why people let it, they let it bother them so much. They see that and they're just like, no, 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 this isn't my Battlefield. No,
Yeah, I saw that hashtag, not my Battlefield.
not
It's
my
like,
Battlefield. Yeah,
are you a child? It's a video
no,
game. I don't
women,
know.
no, women are good for two things: making me sandwiches in the kitchen and having sex, and that's it. You know, no,
And one of those things they'd never get.
yeah, making sandwiches or
No.
having the sex part.
And the same people are mad because waifus are no longer on Steam.
Mm,
There's a correlation there, right?
probably is. Probably is.
Maybe it's Steam's fault. Maybe this whole thing's Steam's fault. I don't know.
No.
It's not. I don't think it's political. I just think it's who cares personally.
So Xbox Live Gold being free is another thing that triggers Jez. He triggers Jez. He sees a post about it and he immediately starts typing like, "It can't be free. You're so stupid. You know, how dare you think this?" Um,
It's not so much that. It's not so much that I think people are wrong for wanting that, because there's a logic there. It's like, why should we pay for Xbox Live if a PC gamer doesn't have to pay for Xbox Live, but they still benefit from crossplay? I mean, I can understand that, you know, there's a logic there, but it's to do with, I mean, I don't want to go too in depth, but it's to do with the business model. Xbox Live subsidizes the console hardware, you know, and it's the same for PlayStation Network, you know. It subsidizes the hardware being cheap, and it is cheap for what it is. You know, you get like a high-end PC. Basically, with the Xbox One X, you get a high-end PC for mid-range PC prices. And the trade-off is that it's subsidized with a service. And that's how Microsoft makes it profitable business. It's like printers, you know, they sell you a printer for pretty cheap, but they get you on the ink, you know. It's like that. That's how the business works. And for people who are saying Microsoft should get rid of the multiplayer pay gate, they're basically saying to Xbox, we want you to quit the console business. Because if Microsoft did that, they'd just be throwing away money. And it's like, well, you can't expect Microsoft to have money to make first party games if they give away all their profit margins because of some YouTube meme. It's like, it's just not how the business works. The business is profitable because of Xbox Live, primarily, more than anything.
yeah,
And like software sales on the second, or well, I don't know which is first and second, but those are first and second. Your software sales, V-Bucks, people buying V-Bucks, Microsoft getting a cut of the V-Bucks, and then Xbox Live and eventually Game Pass too.
Yeah, like if you read some of the comments that the Sony CEO recently said, he talked about how important PlayStation Plus is and subscription services and how that all stuff goes, basically helps. And it's like, I understand, just like you, the sentiment of it wanting to be free, of being able to play multiplayer with your friends no matter what. Like, it is free on PC, and that's kind of the one of the issues here. One of the underlying issues, I think, is they see Microsoft's renewed focus on the PC and how they have, cross play with Xbox in certain games. They can party chat with their friends on Xbox and all this stuff, but the one fact the one differentiating factor is that they don't have to pay Xbox Live Gold, whereas people on the console do, and they think that's not fair. And you know what? It is. It's not fair. It's not fair at all that I have to pay Xbox Live Gold to play multiplayer and speak in a party, and some PC person can just get all that stuff for free.
Goddamn PC.
I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, like looking at the market factors, like Microsoft already tried paying for Xbox Live on the PC. It was called Games for Windows Live, I believe, and it completely failed. Completely just blew up in their face. PC players will never accept any sort of paywall gate to playing online. They think it's laughable. You know, the PC people. Well, the PC people in the community, they laugh at console people paying for Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus. And you can make an argument that Microsoft and Sony have more kind of shifted recently. It's not so much about the multiplayer. It's more about a subscription service of the games that you get, which is why people always kind of talk about games with gold and PlayStation Plus every month, because the conversation has been removed from the multiplayer aspect to it to what games am I getting, the 48 games I'm getting a year, or how many of you get on PlayStation. But the fact of the matter is like you said, realistically, the companies are never going to give up that revenue stream.
Unless there's something, of course, that replaces that revenue stream.
Right.
But what could replace that revenue stream?
I mean, Game Pass potentially.
Well, that's
replacing it, because if you look at, like, if Microsoft was sitting out there, and look, if Microsoft felt they could make more money by removing the paywall to multiplayer, they would do it in a heartbeat. If they knew that they could, like, and how would they, right? Well, they would, if we remove multiplayer paywall, we have a competitive advantage over Sony, which means more people are going to buy the system, and potentially we sell more games and more DLC. We have more users, so we sell more stuff, and eventually that makes it up all down the road. The problem with that is it probably wouldn't be that much of an impact. If Microsoft really did come out in E3 and said multiplayer is free, I suddenly don't see a scenario where Microsoft's like sales pick up in any dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
And so they wouldn't really make up for it anywhere else. I don't really think. Because if you're really interested in multiplayer, you're more than already likely paying for gold. The other people who don't, they just don't. Like, I don't play for PlayStation Plus on the PlayStation, and if it suddenly was free, I wouldn't go start playing multiplayer on PlayStation, but I guess that's just me. So what would they have to do? They would have to raise the price of the Xbox console itself to actually make a profit on it. They'd probably have to raise the cut of the games they get. Instead of taking 30%, they'd have to take 40%. Because they're not going to eat that cost. They're going to pass it along to the customer in some form or fashion to try to get that money back. And if all that else fails, what does the company do if all that stuff doesn't work? Well, they do what they always do, and that means job cuts. You get rid of people. You get rid of salaries. You pay people less, which means less investments in other things. So as much as I love the idea of multiplayer being free and paying for extra stuff, like if Xbox Live Gold was just the games with gold and the deals with gold and all that stuff, but not the multiplayer, it's just, I don't think it's a realistic scenario. No. Especially with PlayStation charging for it and them saying how core it is to their business, and now with Nintendo of all companies, freaking Nintendo doing it. So all of the console manufacturers are in there doing it, gonna make a ton of money, because people are going to pay for Nintendo's because it's gonna launch around Smash Brothers. And Smash is really going to pick up a lot of people.
Smash everything.
Exactly. So I
Maybe
agree with.
Smash Brothers launches in November.
I mean, yeah, Smash. Maybe that's the game. Maybe the Pokemon game, that rumored Pokemon game, and maybe developers want to move away from that. But I did present an idea of what if Microsoft, instead of making the multiplayer free, what if they combine Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Gold in some form
Now,
or fashion?
that's more compelling because obviously, if someone's subscribed to Game Pass, a lot of the games there are multiplayer, so they need games, they need Xbox Live Gold, but you're creating an artificial barrier there. I mean, surely it's smarter to upsell Xbox Live Gold during the payment process for Game Pass and vice versa. You know, I think they already do that for Gold. So it just makes perfect sense to and I think I'm pretty sure I read Phil or someone said in an interview that they're looking at ways to add value for people who go for both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like a way that they could add value. And you know, this is like another aspect of not getting rid of Xbox Live Gold's multiplayer paywall is that it's not just revenue, it's the best kind of revenue. It's like guaranteed revenue. You can like see how many people are subscribed for a year, and that's confirmed revenue. You can see how many people are subscribed month by month, and you can extrapolate from that how much money you're going to have coming in over the course of the year. So that's value beyond the simple fact that it's money. It's guaranteed money, which is like the good kind of money, which is why EA Access exists, because that's the good kind of revenue you want. So it's never the paywall for multiplayer is not going away. Can Microsoft afford to do it? Probably, but are they going to eat that cost? No, they're not a charity. Like, why would they do that? They're not a charity.
Yeah, but I also do think like when Microsoft has two big subscription services, they can easily combine them into one. So it's like if you want both, here's this payment structure. Like I made the thing is like, okay, so what they could do is what if you just subscribe to Game Pass and you just get gold and that's it. You subscribe to one and you have them both. If you don't want to be subscribed to Game Pass, that's fine because you can still buy gold. Like Microsoft is clearly one of the things they've shown this gen is that options are a good thing. They like giving their consumers choices. So it's like if you want gold, get gold. If you don't want gold, don't get gold. But if we have Game Pass, and I wonder how the demographic breakdown is. How many people are subscribed to Game Pass that are subscribed to gold? How many people are subscribed to Game Pass who aren't subscribed to gold? How many people aren't subscribed to both? Because you know they have those breakdowns, and they're trying to get more people to go to Game Pass. You know, it's $120 a year. And I feel that would be it would be a nice announcement in D3 if Microsoft was like, and with Xbox Game Pass, you know, we've added games launching from third parties. Like last month we had Laser League launched in there. There's a new one launching next month as well. We added our own first party titles to add value. Now, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you just have gold. You don't need to worry about it. It's just that easy.
Yeah.
And I think that people would like that. You know, if you're subscribed to both, that's $180 a year. This would make it $120. So you know, you're saving $40. Will it come to fruition? I don't know, but I do think Microsoft will sort of combine the things. I do kind of just like smirk when I see people like Xbox Live Gold should be free or multiplayer should be free, and it's just like, while I agree 100% that it should be, like you have to look at like let's not forget we're talking about corporations that exist to purely make a profit. Like that's what they're there. That's why they're in business. They're in business to make money for their stockholders. That's what they're there to do. They're not a charity. Microsoft and Sony, they're there to just make money, and that subscription service, the multiplayer stuff. Because honestly, and I'm going to ask chat to this, if Microsoft removed the paywall for multiplayer and it was free, but for $60 a year, you still got games with gold and deals with gold and you had to pay $60, how many of you would unsubscribe? Hit one you would unsubscribe to Xbox Live Gold if multiplayer was free, and 2, if you would still be subscribed just for games with gold and deals with gold. Because that'd be interesting to see. I want to see how many people really do subscribe for multiplayer. And if that was free, because that's the idea. Like, well, people say like, oh, well, I would still be subscribed if for the games, but it's like the games aren't very good. You know what I mean? Like, the games aren't very good that they give you for free. If they were better, if they were more newer games and stuff, man, maybe sure people would subscribe. And I see a lot of 1s, I see a bunch of 2s as well. So I don't know. I guess it really depends on what you want. Me personally, party streaming, being in a party is important, and that's behind a paywall, which really shouldn't be. There's some things Microsoft really needs to straighten out. Free-to-play games.
Party behind the paywall?
Yeah, parties behind the paywall. If you're a silver member, you can't be in a party with somebody. That's behind the paywall, and it shouldn't be. Absolutely,
that shouldn't be.
Yeah,
especially when Skype exists, and considering Skype's on the Xbox, and you could just use Skype for free anyway, right?
Yeah, and because on PlayStation, I'm not subscribed to Plus. We were in a party playing H1Z1 just fine. Like, I don't know. Microsoft needs to change some of their policies to be in line with PlayStation and that stuff. I think I do think, but I don't know. There's always values they could do, different things we're not thinking about. But I don't know. Like, what's your final thought on this whole thing, Jez?
Well, it's not just the fact that they'd be losing money. Operating costs will go up too, because like people say like, oh, but you're not using Microsoft servers when you play like, I don't know, when you play Fortnite online, you're not using Microsoft servers, but you are, because that's how you connect your ID to their game service. And it's like the whole reason Xbox exists is so developers don't have to deal with that stuff. They don't have to deal with, oh, we've got to set up a profile system, blah blah blah. And yeah, some devs don't mind doing that. Like Fortnite has its own account system, but Deep Rock Galactic doesn't have its own account system, and all these other games don't have their own account systems because they're smaller devs and they don't have to deal with that. So Microsoft eats that cost for them, and we pay Microsoft to eat that cost, and they profit from it. So, if the paywall was gone, the operating costs would go up because everyone would start playing multiplayer. And yeah, maybe they'd sell more V-Bucks, but it's not going to offset the amount of money they're going to lose. Ultimately.
Do you think if they did remove the paywall, like they would see an absolute huge surge in people playing online? Because I'm not really sure that's the case. Because
maybe not a huge surge, but operating costs would increase.
Well, I'm sure it would. Because I just have this feeling it's like console gaming's been around, and online gaming for consoles has been around for some time now. And if you really were interested in playing online, you know what to do. I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like if they removed the paywall, not that many more people would play. But maybe I'm completely wrong on that. Maybe millions would play. Maybe the because they just had a free weekend for silver members.
Well, I was going to say that'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah,
what effect the free weekends have on the subscription.
Yeah, like you take like a normal weekend with gold and you see how many people are playing multiplayer, and then see, okay, it's free to everybody, and see what the disparity is. You know, if it's hugely great, like you're talking millions of more people, then obviously I'm wrong. But I'm just kind of curious to see like what the actual numbers are. And
the cost of live is so trivial. I mean, it's like, not for everyone, obviously, but seriously, how much does it cost? $60 a year?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends. I mean, you can get
most people spend that much money on a good night out on Friday.
Do you remember during the PlayStation era, when PlayStation 3 era, when PSN was free? Sony developers, when talking about their game, would literally talk about why you should get a PlayStation, because the cost. Because even though the PlayStation 3 was $600 and the Xbox was $400, they always would say, well, if you factor in the cost of Xbox Live, PlayStation 3 is cheaper, because you have to, where PlayStation is free and you don't have to do that. And like, I remember them like saying that stuff for that Dragon game that came out, Lair, and then a few of the other ones that like a lot of the devs were like, yeah, online's great. I don't know why you would pay $60 a year. It's just more expensive and all this stuff. And then it was just eventually Sony just copied Microsoft because they saw how much money they could make. But I wonder if there's any way we could get the information. Could you talk to your sources, Jazz, and be like, listen, give me the lowdown. How many people played in the silver last weekend, and how many people played regularly on the weekend? Is it
I
really
don't
that?
got any sources on that side of it.
Well, just go in and I don't know, ask somebody. You know people at Microsoft. Hit up PR. Be like, you're working on a piece, and be like, can you give me the numbers, please?
I've asked them for numbers about things before, and they're basically just laughed at me. So
Those
I don't
guys.
think PR gets the numbers. I think
Yeah,
basically Phil gets the numbers, and that's it.
I'm
So,
sure Mike has the numbers. I'm sure there's plenty of
oh
people
yeah,
who have
sure.
the numbers there, but yeah, so PlayStation 5 2021. There's a talk going around here because the Sony CEO had a investors meeting where he talked about the future of PlayStation, said it was in the end of its life cycle, surprise, surprise, and that they were going to take the next 3 years to kind of plan the future of the company. Um, as this relates to Xbox, him coming out and saying 2021, does this help Xbox out in any way, shape, or form, knowing what Sony's plans are? Or,
Doesn't mean they're telling the truth.
well, that's the thing I say. It's like I honestly do not believe the PlayStation 5 is coming 2020. I think 2021, I mean. I think that system is a shoe-in for 2020. And I think people are just misinterpreting what he's really saying.
Well, apparently Bloomberg published an update or something to say that they didn't say 3 years or something. I don't know. I saw that tweet just before we came on the show, but
Yeah.
apparently some of that information isn't exactly accurate. I don't know. But in any case, the future is going to be disruptive. Like, I mean, we talked about this before, and there is disruption coming to the industry. EA just purchased GameFly, which is a company that delivers cloud streamed games. Can you imagine a world where EA bypasses Sony, bypasses Xbox, and you just subscribe to EA Access and use a streaming stick or something? I can see them do that. So I can see them doing that in the future. And like more and more devs are pulling out of Steam too. Like Activision, Call of Duty, the next Call of Duties will never be on Steam. They're all going to be on Battle.net. Steam, no Activision game will be on Steam ever again because of they're going to use Battle.net for it now. So, but you can do that on PC if you've got the infrastructure. You can deliver your own games and have your own account system and stuff like that if you've got the scale. But like in the future, EA could bypass consoles altogether and just deliver their and Activision as well. Like if they have the infrastructure, or if Amazon sells them the infrastructure, maybe they can just bypass consoles altogether and go straight to your devices no matter where you are. Because that's where they want to go now. Because they want to take their games mobile. They're tired of being locked to your TV. They want the Fortnite mobile, PUBG mobile. They want that. They want that. And Xbox and PlayStation can't offer them that. It's not in their infrastructure to offer them that. So, well, PlayStation Now, I guess, but PlayStation Now is just not good enough at this time. But it will be one day, presumably.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There is disruption coming to the industry. Cloud streaming is going to disrupt. It's going to disrupt consoles the way Netflix has disrupted TV.
Well, yeah, you say that, and I do agree with you. Microsoft is doing their cloud thing. EA just purchased GameFly's cloud streaming service. Albert Pinello left Microsoft to go join Amazon.
I know what he's doing on Amazon now.
To work on Alexa and Echo integration in gaming, yeah. It sounded like. Yes. There's Google hired Phil Harrison. Why would you hire Phil Harrison unless you're getting into the gaming market with cloud streaming?
Mark Whitten's at Amazon now too.
Is he? I mean, yep. It's all coming. So it's going to be interesting to see, number one, if people really kind of take to cloud streaming, because we've been saying this, that I think that's the future, like years and years and years from now, like where PlayStation and Xbox are just like an app on something, or like a Fire Stick you plug into your TV, or something you download on your PC, where like hardware itself doesn't really exist. And that's the fight for the future. But like gamers now, I don't know. You talk to them and you say, would you be accepting of this cloud strategy or streaming games? And everybody says no. I mean, look at the ridicule that Resident Evil 7, the cloud version for Switch got, right? In Japan, where
Yeah.
they just put that version and people are like, I don't want to play this. But if all
how else could you deliver that on Switch? And it's the same thing. How else do you deliver Battlefield 5 on a mobile phone? You either like make a crappy mobile game for these IRM processors which can't handle the heavy lifting, or you use cloud streaming. And Resident Evil 7 was like, well, we want to put Resident Evil 7 on a console that can't handle it, either because of storage capacity or processing issues. And cloud does the heavy lifting, and people, if it works and works well, people will use it. Same way people use Netflix. When I was a kid, you couldn't stream 4K video to your mobile device, or you couldn't stream anything to your mobile device, But now Netflix is like a given. I can't remember the last time I actually watched TV. Can you? I use Netflix. If I ever watch TV, which is rare, I use Netflix.
I haven't. Last time I watched like live TV was like right when maybe Game of Thrones, the new episode was going out. Like I don't really watch TV, and I don't especially watch live TV, but I'm just kind of curious to see how like the casual audience, like the ones who play Call of Duty and Madden, would feel in 8 years if like Call of Duty.
That's the thing, though, man. It's the casual audience who will accept this.
Will they though? Would I mean, Call of Duty is a multiplayer intensive experience, and unless the technology really improves, do you see it being?
Well, that's the thing. Everything I'm saying is under the assumption that the technology is good enough that it's seamless, or close to seamless. I think if it's close to seamless, maybe there'll be some artifacting and stuff like that to keep up with the lag. But the thing is, Call of Duty fans accept closed client servers today. Call of Duty doesn't have dedicated servers, does it? I played bloody Call of Duty World War II, and it was the same laggy crap that it always was. It's like, if you accept this, why won't you accept cloud streaming? So I'm pretty sure casual Call of Duty fans will accept it in droves because they're not so discerning.
Let's ask chat. One, if gaming went to cloud stream only, would you still game? Would you still buy the game knowing that you have no rights to it because there's no physical copy, it's just in the cloud? And of course, this is all like 10 years from now. One, for I'm still stream, or two, like I'm done with gaming, because I have a feeling that's going to be the breaking point for a lot of people.
Well, this is the thing, you see. The thing is, there's still a market for DVDs and Blu-rays. There's still a market to have those experiences natively. Microsoft just hired a bunch of new engineers to make the next Xbox, and like that's not because they're making a streaming console. They're making a serious, heavy-duty native console. I don't think native hardware is going to go away anytime soon. I mean, people have been predicting the death of the PC market for years and years and years and years, and it's never happened because people want that native experience. They don't want to use their phones to write a Word document and stuff like that. And there are always going to be gamers who want to have that native reliability. And like, even if cloud streaming gets to a point where it's close to seamless, it's never going to be as good as having a completely native experience. They don't use wireless mice for esports. They use wired mice because of the extra slither of latency you get. So there's always going to be a market for native, and I think Microsoft are going to support. I know at least Microsoft are going to support that for a long time.
I would imagine PlayStation would as well. But like, I don't know. Like, this is so far into the future, this whole cloud streaming stuff. I mean, clearly it's starting to gear up. I'm just kind of curious to see if it even take off. Like,
maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be a complete flop.
Yeah, maybe Microsoft's like idea of getting the 2 billion gamers out there falls flat in the face, because what are you going to get them? Like, that's the other thing. It's like Amazon and Google trying to get in there, but it's like, what do they have to offer? If it's just a cloud, I mean, I guess it's like, well, hey, you know, what if you could, because I was saying this to somebody, and it was like, well, what if Amazon offered a stick for $20 that you could play Fortnite on, plug it into your TV? And I'm like,
that'd
I mean,
sell.
I
That
mean,
would
I
sell.
guess, yeah. I mean, if you're just talking about that, but it's like, if Amazon is just offering a way to play games on your TV for $20, they'd have to rely on like all these third parties to be on board. I don't know if
Well,
that's
therein lies the issue. They've hired Xbox staff like Phil Harrison specifically because they want those deals. They want those deals in place, and like they don't need to have like their own systems for this. They can just use Windows PCs and stream PC versions of the games, which are often the best looking anyway.
so.
So
Microsoft and Sony would be scared of a company coming in, undercutting them, and taking the majority of third party sales is what they would be scared about, right?
Steam should be worried too, because it's going to be the PC versions that get streamed, you know. And Steam, I mean, what is Steam's play when this comes around? Valve doesn't have like a huge cloud infrastructure across the world. Like Valve's gonna have to sell up eventually. I'm pretty sure they will. I don't know.
Jay Nice says they better worry about Tencent.
Yeah, Tencent. There you go. If you get like, imagine Tencent, right? Tencent sells a streaming stick for any device that gives you League of Legends, Fortnite, and all their games. Path of Exile, they just invested in. Majority
Don't they have a
stake
share
in
in
that game.
PUBG as well?
For the share in PUBG, all those games that Tencent have that they're sort of bubbling away in the background and no one really thinks about them because they're not EA. They're very low key. They're very hands off. They just kind of let the devs do their own thing and rake the money in, like as investors. But one day they could just wade in. They could join forces with Amazon, heaven forbid, and then boom, you've got the most disruptive force in the industry.
Because it does seem like at least some of the bigger third parties are leaving Steam. Call of Duty just left, is joining Blizzard. There's talks that maybe Ubisoft will leave and stuff like that. I don't know. It's
Steam
gonna be
is in trouble, and I don't think a lot of, especially PC gamers, aren't really aware of all the stuff that's happening in the console space because they're sort of like, oh, who cares about console kiddies, blah blah blah. But like, they should be worried, man. Steam's kind of like on this sort of island by itself. And all this stuff is happening in the background, like with Tencent, cloud streaming, blah blah blah. If Amazon just comes in and says, you know what, we'll let you stream. Hey, PC devs, we'll let you stream your games to any device, whatever you want. We'll pay you royalties on it. We'll give you a better deal than Steam. Blah blah blah. Boom, Steam is dead. If it works, obviously, that's the big caveat. If it works, maybe it won't work, but they could do Steam in overnight if they wanted to.
And I wonder what Microsoft's play is in all this, because clearly they're planning for this. They built that cloud gaming division to do something. And would you think it may be extension of like Play Anywhere? Like, what if the idea was along the lines of whatever game you own in your library, you can stream anywhere with Xbox Cloud. Like you start up, I don't know, Rise of the Tomb or Shadow of the Tomb Raider. You own that, you bought it, you play it on your Xbox natively, or you can stream it to Windows 10. But at the same time, hey, maybe you're on a plane ride, stream it to your phone. Hey, maybe there's something you could stream it to your TV. Like, do you think that is something like they're working on, or a potential thing for? Like, I don't know.
I have no idea what Microsoft's full play here is. Like that we know they're working on cloud streaming in some form. We know that their agenda is to bring more screens to developers on the Xbox platform. We know these things, but how they pull that off is difficult to say. Does Microsoft make specific hardware like the Nintendo Switch and sell that just as a portable screen? Because frankly, playing games on an Android phone with a touchscreen is garbage. Like it's pure garbage, man. It's just not fun, and it's not representative of what the devs intended. They didn't intend for like PUBG to be playing like crappy touchscreen. They intended for it to be played with a mouse and keyboard, or at the very least a controller, not a bloody touchscreen. So like, how is Microsoft going to solve these issues? And they've got the know-how to do it. They've got the best controller engineers in the world. They've got one of the best, hardware manufacturing teams in the whole world with the Surface team. They got one of the best console manufacturing teams now. They can do this, and they've got the cloud. But the problem is with Microsoft, they often have the infrastructure to pull off these things, and then they fuck it up. You know, it's like Cortana. Cortana was there before Alexa. They had the infrastructure. Cortana was on every Xbox with Kinect. It was on all these devices. They could have had that market, and they fucked it up. You know, it's like they don't really know what they're doing sometimes, and it's like everyone's there screaming at them and at them in the face. This is what you could do. This is what you could do. And Microsoft will be like, yeah, well, we don't think this is gonna work, or for some, like, almost like they're scared. You know, like the failure of Cortana is absolutely staggering to me. And like they had that market cornered, and they did nothing. And they've done this. They've got the same situation with Skype. They bought Skype. Skype had all these free users, hundreds of millions of users, and Discord is destroying them now, slapping them around. Meanwhile, Skype adds a bloody Snapchat mode to its mobile app, which literally nobody uses. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. Literally nobody. Not a single person outside of Microsoft developers who are testing the testing Skype highlights uses that. And I bet most people listening to this show don't even know it exists. It's because Microsoft doesn't, you know, some of the people running Microsoft stuff, they just don't get how people use their products.
Yeah.
And so they could have all this stuff in place and then screw it up. So I just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And with that, how about we take a couple questions and then you can go to sleep?
Sounds good.
So hit us up with some questions. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And yeah, we'll answer anything you guys got. You know, I'm sure the PC fanboys are upset at Jez now. He said Steam's gonna die off in the future.
I didn't say it was gonna die.
Someone's gonna take a clip of that thing and pass it around 10 seconds.
I didn't say Steam was gonna die, but Valve needs to be, I don't know. They need to do something, because Tencent and Amazon could wipe Steam out if they wanted to. And that'd be bad for Microsoft too, because Microsoft sells a lot of PC hardware because of Steam. So, we'll see.
All right, here's a question you're going to love, Jez. Ready? This is from Face. He says, with God of War selling 5 million in a month on the market confirmed by Cordero, the Sony CEO, and Phil Spencer's quotes of single player not having the same impact as before, is the narrative dead?
No.
It's kind of a loaded question there. I mean, 5 million a month for an exclusive. I mean, that's what Far Cry did in a week, but that's also multiplier.
But you've got to think, right, of the margins, and that God of War is going to have great profits, and it's great that it sold that many copies and all that stuff. I think what Phil means when he talks about it not having the same impact as it did is because there's new types of games which have a bigger impact. God of War is never going to touch Fortnite for margins. It's never going to touch it. Fortnite's making $260 million per month or something, I read. It's like, that's what, when Phil says single player games don't have the same impact they used to, he's talking about in comparison to games like Fortnite, games like Overwatch, games where like you have to buy a subscription to play, games where there's an upsell. You know, there's no upsell with God of War. There's not, you buy God of War and that's it. You play it, you trade it in. You know, I bet loads of people trade that in because there's no reason to carry on playing it. I mean, kudos to Sony for making God of War it's a work of art. You know, they made art with God of War, but they didn't make a great business with God of War because there's no microtransactions, which is a good thing. But I'm just saying it doesn't have the same impact as a game that does have microtransactions. In terms of business, maybe on gaming culture, it has a bigger impact. But in terms of the business, nobody's buying PSN Plus because of God of War, because you don't need it because it doesn't have multiplayer. Nobody's telling their friends, you need to buy God of War so we can play together in co-op because it doesn't have multiplayer. Nobody is buying microtransactions in God of War because it doesn't have any microtransactions. The margins on God of War are going to be very narrow compared to the margins on a game like Fortnite, on a game with upsell. That's what Phil means when he's talking about it doesn't have the same impact. He's not saying single player games suck because multiplayer games are amazing. He's just saying the business reality of the console industry has changed. That's all he's saying. And how can you argue with that?
Yeah, I mean, 5 million a month. Just I don't know. Like it just shows that people will buy a great game in huge
Yeah, it does.
quantities, even if it's exclusive. Single player is not dead. People love
It is
single
dead.
player. Phil never said single player was dead. He just said it didn't have the same impact. Uh, maybe I don't know. Maybe if you asked him now, he'd probably maybe be like, "I was wrong on God of War." I mean, who knows? I
No,
don't know. I'm not the man. I don't know what he thinks. I don't know what he
he
sees.
wouldn't say he's wrong
But
because he's not talking about
God of War did have an impact
that.
on me in my pants. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I
Wow.
said it. I said it.
Wow.
Shout out to Showin for the super chat. He says Microsoft has always sucked with consumer products. Um,
Yeah, kind of.
yeah, but I mean, I like the Xbox, especially the X, and the Surface products are really good. People rave about the Surface products.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Service products are very barely what I would consider consumer friendly. They are so prohibitively expensive, and you can get much cheaper laptops, and also they've always aimed that stuff at business. I don't think they're great consumer products because you can get devices that are more consumer friendly in terms of price. So I would totally agree that Microsoft isn't great at consumer products, and like Xbox is the one sort of product that sort of bucks that trend. Pretty much everything else they do isn't very consumer friendly,
Yeah,
or it fails. Like I will never get over. I will never get over how much they screwed up Cortana. Cortana is going to become an app for Amazon Echo. That's how badly. That's how badly that team screwed up. It's insane to me how they squandered that opportunity, and that's because Microsoft either doesn't care about consumers, like it's not in their DNA, or they're just incompetent. So it's one of those.
yeah.
Now you just got to hope that Xbox is made of smarter stuff.
So I am Weeze wants to know if there's any news on avatars.
Yes, I have heard that avatars are currently on the alpha ring, believe it or not, but
Ooh,
hidden. So like I think it's this month. Well, not May, but maybe June, early June. They're coming. They're very very imminent, should we say?
yeah.
And also, like I wrote my E3 predictions like a little bit more about the way. I mean, I think you talked about this too, about the way avatars are going as a sort of platform. They're
Mm-hmm.
sort of they're becoming this. Microsoft's invested a lot of money in avatars, and they're not just going to be this cartoony thing that sits on your dashboard. They're going to be integrated into AltSpace VR, which is Microsoft's sort of virtual meeting room thing. They're going to be integrated into games and stuff like that. Like they are going to bring. I'm pretty sure, like those classic sort of avatar games, like 1 versus 100 and stuff. They're going to bring those back, but they're going to be with new avatars, and they're going to have mixer integration. It'd be like a TV show and stuff. I think Microsoft sort of, and because they're built in Unity, that makes them cross-platform too, and cross-engine compatible and stuff like that. It's like Unity is a very sort of friendly engine that can scale to many different devices. Like even HoloLens supports it. So it was no sort of accident that they set it up that way. So yeah, I think avatars are going to be much more than just little, like silly little cartoons on your dashboard. I think it's
I'll
going to be
accept
interesting.
avatars if they come with a 1 versus 100. I'll accept it then because I like that game. Um,
I'm pretty sure it will.
iCarly fan wants to know if I'll come to his house for Memorial Day. He's cooking hot dogs. Sure, dude. Let's do it. Love hot dogs.
Hot dogs are good.
Mr. Righteous Fist wants to know if any indie games we're looking forward to. Yeah, I'm looking forward. Yeah, I
Ashen.
was gonna
Oh,
say
Ashen
Ashen.
doesn't count anymore, does it?
It's an indie game. It's published
Is it?
by Annapurna Interactive. What do you mean?
But is it still coming under the Xbox? Is Annapurna too
Yeah,
big? I
yeah.
don't know.
And Annapurna just released a game this week on ID at Xbox.
Uh-huh.
Gorgora, Gorgora, or something. Ashen, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Below, The Last Night. Concrete Genie on PlayStation looks pretty good. Although I'm not really sure if that qualifies as indie. I don't know. Like I don't know really know what's really coming out. We'll get a better picture of the indie scene at E3 because I'm sure Microsoft and Sony will highlight what they think are the better ones. Beats Games Life wants to know what are our thoughts on Scalebound reappearing. I think it's just a glitch. I don't think it means anything. I will be utterly shocked if at E3 they trot out a new developer or the same developer and be like, Scalebound's back on, guys. I'll be shocked, like literally shocked, because I don't think it means anything. And I think
I'd be shocked
last week. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Any other questions? Philip wants to know, Jazz, how many more hours are you going to play State of Decay 2?
Well, put it this way, I've been God, how many hours have I been playing now? Let me just look this up. How do you do that? You do it in your achievements tab, right?
Yeah.
Achievements, State of Decay 2. Where do I see this? See all my achievements. Right, bear with me. I'm gonna see how many hours I've been playing this game. State of Decay 2, 56%. I'm through the Chivos. I'm not a Chivo hunter at all. There's the stats. Career mode stats. Sweet. So I've got 1 day and 18 hours on this game so far.
So what is that?
24 plus 18.
40.
God, it doesn't feel like that. And I've only, so far, even though I've got that many hours, however that is, I suck at maths. I've only really done half of the first. Dude, I've not even done half the first map. I've done like a third.
You need to come in my map and like help me clear out the play carts. We should do that.
Yeah, I will, man. We should do that. We should. Yeah, I've done a third of the first map. So when you finish the first map and kill all the play cards and do like your story missions for your leader, you can go to a new map, and basically it becomes endless mode at that point. So, and then after that you can go to another new map, and after that the maps sort of respawn, and you can just keep going if you want. But I'll keep playing until like I've sort of seen all the different stuff, like the different heroes, tried different base builds and stuff like that. So the minute I'm like influence and trade focused, I got like 2,700 influence, and I don't know what to spend it on.
Ooh.
And, because I got like an influence build where you have like a trade hub and you get daily influence supplies and all this stuff. So I really want to try the warlord leader, because if you play as a warlord, you sort of like you become like the asshole of the wasteland. You go around killing all the other humans, which sounds kind of interesting. And also there's the builder who has like bonuses to base building and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just addicted to it. It's just good old zombie smashing fun. And there might be some more zombie smashing fun at E3 this year.
So Samuel Tolbert wants to know what's your dream E3 announcement that will likely not happen.
Oh, that's a hard one.
That's a tough one to be on the spot on, you know?
I would honestly, I mean, usually when people ask me these questions, I answer with the first thing that pops into my mind rather than thinking about it, so it's more honest. The first thing that popped into my mind was Quantum Break 2. Like with Remedy, like expanding on what made the first game great, removing the stuff that didn't make it so great, you know, sort of giving us a deeper explanation of Martin Hatch and all that unanswered questions. That would be one E3 thing that's not going to happen that I'd be really happy about. The other thing that I'd be really happy about is EA saying, yes, we admit we screwed up with Andromeda. We're going to finish the game and give you the story DLC that was basically planned for the cliffhanger ending of the game. I'd be really happy if they could bloody well finish that game off, because that game ends with so many unanswered questions because they wanted to sell it as DLC, and then they didn't sell it as DLC because it wouldn't be profitable enough. I was so mad. So if EA wants to get back in my good graces, they can bloody well finish Mass Effect Andromeda. I don't care if only I play it. Do it just for me. Thanks. What about you, Rand? I want to know.
The first thing that came to my head, you're going to laugh, is because it's from the same developer you just talked about, Remedy, but it's not Quantum Break 2, it's Alan Wake 2. I want Alan Wake. I need to, after that cliffhanger ending of it's not a lake, it's an ocean, and how it ended on that, I need Alan Wake 2. I want it to
Did
be
you
a
play the
thing.
DLCs?
I played, yeah, I fucking love Alan Wake, dude. If you had to give me a choice between Alan Wake sequel or Quantum Break sequel, give me Alan Wake all day. I
I
love Alan Wake.
I'd take either of them. I mean, I'd take either of them, but because they play kind of similarly, I find.
Yeah.
But I think like either of those would be great. But they're two things that I don't think are ever gonna happen, to be honest.
So like, it's hard to think like on the top of your head. Alan Wake was something I thought of, but
Ooh, Dino Crisis.
dude,
A new
Dino
Dino
Crisis.
Crisis. But survival horror.
Amnesia. There you go. I was thinking of maybe a Dead Space 4, but in the vein of Dead Space 1 or 2, not 3.
Not without visceral.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, I love Dead Space, so
Your Dead Space is great.
and yeah, I mean, I don't know, those are the ones. Alan Wake 2 is something that I really do want. And let's see, one more question. Um, Next Doc 1851 says, Ranjez, you kill me. You know some gamers beat single player games more than once, right? I beat Dragon Age 3 times this gen. I will beat God of War a few times. Well, I guess that's not really a question.
That doesn't matter though, because you're not. Well, there's no upsell. So Sony aren't going to see any more money if you play that through another time. But if you were forced to subscribe to PSN Plus to play it through again, then they'd see more money. But they're not. So they're not seeing any more money from that, and loads of people are going to trade it in because there's no reason to keep it around. So
yeah. Okay, so this would be the last question here, from Skuldiff. With the poor list of June Game Pass games, do you still think Microsoft wants to invest in Game Pass, or is it more a way for them to get some cash without investing?
I mean, I suppose he's talking about. I mean, did you see the games already?
Yeah,
they're not the best spread.
No, they're not.
Wasteland 2. Wasteland 2 is a personal favorite of mine, but I think that's a kind of game you need to be a certain kind of person to love.
Yeah, I saw
a bit of a weirdo.
I saw that list and I was like, ooh.
I love Wasteland 2, man. I love In Exile games, but let's say they're an acquired taste. Like, I fully appreciate that most people are not going to be thrilled about getting that game on Game Pass. But
yeah, so let's just tell people what you get. So you get a brand new game launching into Game Pass. I like that. I like the idea of a new game launching directly into Game Pass. Next Up Hero, which I think they showed off at Inside Xbox. It didn't look particularly good. There's also MotoGP 17, which seems really niche. Disneyland Adventures, like, who the hell really cares about Disneyland Adventures?
Apparently that game is really popular with kids.
Well, I can imagine. You go to Disneyland in it. Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, Wasteland 2 Director's Cut, and Technomancer, the Technomancer. So yeah, not the best month. Only 6 games when they usually do 7, and this is after like 24 games are leaving at the end of May. Most of them 360 games. I don't know, like, a lot of things with Game Pass are very experimental. It's all very new, and it's never been done before in the gaming scene. Even though they want to be the Netflix of gaming, they're still trying to learn what draws people in, what do you need, all that stuff. And I truly do think, and I do know that they are investing heavily into Game Pass. So, I mean, you're going to end up, it's like games with gold sometimes. You're going to end up with some months that are really spectacular and some months that aren't just very good, you know? But I do like to see, like, if Microsoft can keep it up where it's a new game launching into Game Pass every month, I think that's a start. Whether it's their own game or, you know, a third-party game. And I'm really interested to see the like how Game Pass evolves at E3, because I really do think Microsoft's going to talk about it, highlight it, maybe make some changes to it, try to make it appeal to more people, which is why, you know, in my prediction video I said, don't be surprised if a game like Rise of the Tomb Raider is day one on Game Pass. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's all kind of new territory for Microsoft in the gaming industry, so not really sure. And I skipped a super chat. I didn't see any. I don't know. I'm sorry if I did. I was paying attention in chat, but it didn't seem like I did. But that's going to be the end to the show. Jez is going to go to bed, sleep, get his beauty sleep, so he can wake up tomorrow and play some State of Decay 2. I'm going to be playing some Detroit tonight. So if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you give it a thumbs up here on YouTube if you guys are still watching live. We would appreciate it if you're listening later on Google or iTunes to give it a thumbs up and write a review. That helps out quite a bit. We appreciate it. Jez, what do you got going on for the rest of the week?
I have not much, actually, because I am traveling to the UK next week. So I'll be out a lot of the time while I'm moving back to the UK for a bit. But at the end next week, it's full steam ahead with E3 prep. E3 prep, even though I'm not going to be there, I've got some cool interviews lined up with Xbox peeps. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So, if there are any questions you want me to put to Xbox leadership, send me a DM on Twitter at JezCorden.
All right. Yeah. If you have any questions, if you want to have Jez ask a question to Phil Spencer, be like, Phil, tell us all the secrets. Make sure you DM Jez that. And with that, we're going to be out of here. We'll see you next week for another edition of the Xbox 2. Hopefully some interesting news or discussion drops. If you always want to, give us any topics to discuss, you can always DM me or Jez or just tag us on Twitter. And if the topic's something really juicy, we will talk about it on the show. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you soon. Later, guys.